Query and Company.
I'm going to be keeping you company for the next few hours.
You are not going to believe the company.
This company.
You're going to bankrupt your mama's company?
At least I have the radio to keep me company.
On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
The first half, I think, at least from the Pacer perspective, Eddie, can be summed up in one word, and that word would be turnovers. 6 minutes to go in the third. Oklahoma City's in front by 13. Ball knocked away from Nembhard. He got it back. Now feeds it to the left sideline where Toppin beat the shot clock with a three.
Saves the day.
30 seconds to go in the third quarter. Pacers down by 9. McConnell handling it out near the logo at center court with 22 seconds to play. Separation between game and shot clocks right around 10 seconds. Nobody picked up Siakam, and McConnell delivered it into his hands right corner for a three. Neesmith down the left side, fumbled the dribble, now controls it, runs into a double team in the lane, and sends it out to Toppin, who finds his 5th three-point field goal of the night from the right end. Nembhard steps back, still bouncing, moving to his left. Here comes a three off the bounce, and he hit it.
Dance with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander first before he hits the step back to cut it to three.
Nembhard working Wallace. He'll launch a three and leave it short. Rebound Siakam. It's a one-point game as he lays it off the right-hand glass. Gilgeous-Alexander has it, 9 to shoot. The defender is Nembhard. Here comes the left-hand bounce. Penetrates the arc. Nembhard cuts him off, and he missed off the back of the rim. Rebound Indiana. 8 seconds to go. The Pacers are not going to call a timeout. Haliburton has it with 3, driving with 2, pulling up, and hitting with 0.3 of a second to go. How many more times can this team do that?
Sweets, baby.
Looks like the Pacers are not going to challenge the inbound. They'll play their 5 guys guarding the 4 on the floor. Whoever gets it's going to have to shoot it immediately. Caruso from the near side hash. Flips it toward the goal, and Turner tipped it. The game ends with Indiana winning 111 to 110.
In fact, saved by number 0 last night. And admit it, that game starts last night, and the Pacers are turning the ball over at will. They have 24 turnovers in the game. Admit it, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is stepping back and scoring almost at will and has 38 without living at the free throw line the way he has done for the majority of his MVP season. And admit it, Isaiah Hartenstein, who has been a thorn in the side for the Pacers in the interior, is keeping balls alive and getting rebounds and second chance opportunities. And every single time that Indiana would get it down to like 5 or 7, immediately, blink of an eye, it was back up to 11 to 13. And admit it, you were torn inside early in the fourth quarter because you saw that they were down 13, 12, 11. They got it to 5, and then all of a sudden, boom, it was pushed right back out to 9, bordering on 10. And part of you was saying, it's over. They're going to have to get game 2 in Oklahoma City because they needed to get 1 of 2, and this one just looks like one that, yes, at least they weren't blown out of the building, but they worked and clawed their way back into it. And then the back of your mind, the other side of it, the other little angel that's on the shoulder. While the devil's telling you it's over, the little angel's saying, no, it's not. Because what we know about the Pacers in 2025 is this. What we know is that it ain't over until 0 hits. And I'm talking about the 0 on the clock, and I'm talking about the 0 on the jersey of the guy that continues to make the big play for Indiana when it matters most. A historic run continues, not only for Tyrese Haliburton, but for the Indiana Pacers. And they lead the NBA Finals 1-0. They are 3 games away from bringing this city their first NBA championship. They have taken home court advantage away already from the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they do it once again in dramatic, almost fairy tale fashion. And I thought about this last night as one of my brain droppings because let's be real. On most nights, I'm awake at 3:28 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, thinking about things, and all kinds of stuff's going through my head. And last night, 45% of this city was right there with me because nobody was falling asleep at midnight. This was one of those times where the entire city, everybody is texting one another and posting stuff, and it's like, oh my gosh, and you can't get enough of it. Just when you go to bed, you're like, I don't know, maybe there's like another impromptu party on television I can watch. Let me go back and watch another interview with Haliburton. Let me watch the reaction again of Miles Turner, all of it. It's what we're here for. It's why we wade through the regular season and sit through dreary, snowy conditions to drive down and watch the Washington Wizards on a Tuesday in January, because you wait for moments like this. And this is what I thought about last night at 3:28 in the morning. And it's perfectly fitting, and yes, it's esoterically connected to me personally, but I'm going to make it for everybody. Today is my mom's birthday. My mom today turns, well, I'll just say it. My mom's going to hate me for saying this, but my mom today is 82 years old. Fit as a fiddle, 82 going on 50, but my mom is 82 years old. And my mom on her birthday, it always reminds me of the birthdays for myself and my sisters growing up. My mom signed every birthday card. Every note she's ever written to me, every napkin in my lunchbox, she signed the same thing. You are a UM, love you, TGR. Now, TGR is this, and I've never thrown this into the public spectrum for people to use until now. TGR is a word that when my mom was little, someone told her that Trot Gallop Run was the number higher than infinity. That infinity was like the number of stars in the sky was infinity, and Trot Gallop Run was the only number higher than that. And when I was a kid, my mom told my sisters and I that she loved us Trot Gallop Run, and that's been literally, TGR is a term within my family that we use, and it means something that has no bounds and no limit. And my mom has always called myself and my two sisters unrepeatable miracles. And I found it only fitting that on the 3 hours after the clock turned to my mom's birthday that I thought about the fact that the Pacers have bound through to Trot Gallop Run category and bounced themselves beyond infinity in terms of the possibilities of what they can do in this postseason. Because every time you thought they'd hit the limit, every time you thought they'd hit the zenith, they come out and they do it again. And the only thing that doesn't relate to my mom's birthday and her notes in those napkins and cards and letters is the fact that for the Pacers, these miracles are in fact not unrepeatable because they keep repeating them. And the numbers are staggering. You can look as much as you want. Teams are and whatever in situations where they trail in the last second of a game or where they've not had to lead the entire game. The final 0.3 seconds of the game, the only time that the Indiana Pacers led it. But you know what? Dan Weldon won the 2011 Indy 500 and is forever remembered as a two-time 500 champ, and he led that race for 250 yards of 500 miles. But he led the most important, didn't he? And that's what happened last night. That team last night, Eddie Garrison, overcame turnovers galore. The first half of that game, Indiana trying to get to the basket looked like they were going through a car wash. Try walking through a car wash without those spinning things making any contact on you. Every time they went through the lane, the quick hands of Oklahoma City were incredible in creating turnovers. And Indiana was never able, they were able to come down and make their initial pass in their offense. But then when the way that Indiana operates, they come running down the floor. And then if they've got to set up an offense, they immediately get the ball on the high post, typically to Turner. And that begins that weave we talk about, that motion offense of the flip of the ball of guys cycling through until they get the open spot. And if there's 8 seconds left on the shot clock, a Nembhard or a Haliburton either creates in the mid-range or pops back and hits a three, or they cycle to the corners. What Oklahoma City did masterfully last night was they limited not past one, but past two. So Turner's getting the ball, and then when they start, all of a sudden the gears of that constant motion for the Pacers, you could hear it. and the gears were just ground to a halt, and they couldn't move the ball around, and now all of a sudden they're flustered, and those quick hands of that car wash are coming through, boom, Oklahoma City the other way in transition. And teams have two choices in that situation, in that scenario. They either keep trying to do what it is that they do well and wilt and get down 25, because that's what Oklahoma City typically does. They take a 12-point lead, turn it into 25 instantly, and then teams just go away. And for the Pacers, they were like, no, this is what we do. And they just kept going, and they kept going. And then the other thing they did that was masterful, and I don't know whether it was Rick Carlisle that came up with this, whether it was Lloyd Pierce that came up with this, whether it was Tyrese Haliburton that came up with this, whether it was Andrew Nembhard. I don't care. But what they did was they started putting the ball more in Nembhard's hands, and he's now kind of running the offense, and that's getting Haliburton freed up, where all of a sudden they're losing space with where Haliburton is, and then once they look to see where he is, guess what? Siakam's open for a three. Guess what? Nembhard, who took 11 shots and only hit 4 of them, but Nembhard is creating space with a quick pull-up. Siakam then is all of a sudden getting himself in his operating areas down in the low post and getting himself open and also hitting a three. That was a clinic last night by Oklahoma City for the first 3 quarters on what makes them a 68-win team. An elite-level guard, keeping the ball alive with second-chance points, and stifling quick-hand defense. And that was in the fourth quarter last night, what this Indiana Pacer team, I have always said about this city, and if you are a basketball fan, I don't care if you're a Pacers fan, I don't care if you're just a sports fan, I don't care if you don't like sports. The Pacers last night in the fourth quarter again exhibited what this city has fallen in love with, and that is that they represent all of us. All of us. Because when things were down and out, you have two choices, and one is to wither to it, and the other is to stick by who you are and stick by your principles. And the Pacers last night stuck by who they are and stuck by their principles, and once again, it paid off for them. And there is a lesson to be learned in every player and in the totality of that roster for all of us in sports now representing and exemplifying what life is all about. And that's why this city, this state, and now all of a sudden, believe it or not, quietly, this country is starting to learn in watching the Pacers of these guys are fun. These guys are really likable. Because Tyrese Haliburton, once again, literally went into the phone booth, came out, just like Mike Lupikas or Mike Francesca had said about Reggie Miller in the Garden. Tyrese Haliburton went in the phone booth, came out, and has on the cape. And let's go, right? And he once again was Superman. And then afterwards, what does he say? It's one game. It's one game. This team it's impossible to not all of a sudden get the Sugar Plum Fairies dancing in your head of what the parade's going to look like and what the weather's going to be, all of it. What it's going to be like to celebrate an NBA title. They're now 1/4 of the job is complete. They're 3 wins away. But let me introduce you to the last 15, 17, 20, 25 people in this city that are thinking of it that way. Pascal Siakam, Aaron Nesmith, Andrew Nembhard, Miles Turner, Tyrese Haliburton, Benedict Mathurin, TJ McConnell, Thomas Bryant, Ben Shepard, Jarris Walker, Johnny Furphy, Isaiah Jackson, Tony Bradley, Jenny Busek, Rick Carlisle, Lloyd Pierce, you name it. Mike Weiner, all of them, Jim Boylan. The Pacers and that Kevin Pritchard, Chad Buchanan, Ryan Carr, Ted Wu, you name them. They're the last group that's starting to count that off because that's what's gotten them here. Because to all of a sudden start thinking that something is over prematurely goes against everything they stand for. And we saw it last night. It wasn't over until the 0 hit. And the 0 on the clock hit after the 0 on the jersey hit, and everybody in Indianapolis is jumping up and down, and everybody in Oklahoma City is standing there saying, what the hell tornado just landed in our town again? And that tornado is the Indiana Pacers. And Eddie Garrison, I'm here to tell you, I don't want to jinx anything, and I don't want to be that guy with the Sugar Plum Fairies, and I don't want to defy everything that I just said about looking ahead. Mm-hmm. But man alive, the opportunity now if they go up 2-0. But it's one game at a time.
It is one game at a time, Jake. And I think that was out of the 4 games you look at between Milwaukee, Cleveland, and New York. Out of the 4 games now where they come back, this was the one game where the opposing team didn't make errors at the end. You look at New York in that game when Haliburton hit the game-tying shot in the Garden. They missed a couple free throws. Of course, Milwaukee, Gary Trent Jr. can't hold on to the ball. Cleveland having trouble getting the ball in. And then last night, Oklahoma City just missed shots because of the Pacers' defense.
And here's the thing. Let me tell you the most underappreciated aspect last night. There were two plays that were very unheralded. One of them was Dort's block on Nesmith. I mean, that's an elite-level athletic play in the NBA. Right?
That was ridiculous.
But one that won't get that attention, okay? Excuse me. One that won't get that attention and one that won't get the praise. That game, you have the most valuable player in the NBA with the ball in his hands. He has a chance with his team up one to, at the very least, put them in a position where overtime is the worst thing that's going to happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
And probably and presumably he is going to hit the shot that's going to win the game. We're talking about a player that has a chance for the first time in 3 decades in the National Basketball Association to lead the league in scoring, be the most valuable player, and be an NBA champion in the same year. The guy, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, has been the guy in the league for this team all year long. And since he arrived in the NBA, truth be told. He is a not unstoppable, but a virtually unstoppable at-will scorer, especially when his team needs baskets. Last night he has the ball. He's in a very high percentage area, especially for him. Yes, he might even be more comfortable shooting deeper out. But in terms of the mid-range, if you watch the way Andrew Nembhard guarded him, Andrew Nembhard, who knows him, who was a teammate of his on the Canadian national team, who knows and has practiced against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander more intimately than probably most players that he guards over the course of a regular season.
They've played against each other since they were 9 years old.
They know each other like shadows, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nembhard did one of the most underappreciated, overlooked aspects of that game last night. He's guarding Alexander, and he did literally, I don't even know how to describe it, but he basically gave him an invisible chest bump. As Alexander was implying that he was about to step back, before he could even do it, Nembhard stepped out on him with his arms to the side, making sure there was no illegal contact, but literally extended out his torso in a body language way of saying to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I'm here in your space. I'm in your space. And I'm not letting you go. And then what did he do, Nembhard? But in the same instinct that he did that move before Alexander, and he forced Alexander then to make a decision. Before he did that, Nembhard then backed off as to seal off any driving lane that Alexander would have. And Gilgeous-Alexander then, knowing that Nembhard was on him, knew, okay, he's on me now like a wet blanket. I've got to get this shot off. And even though Shai Gilgeous-Alexander actually in that moment had a window of opening because Nembhard had fallen off of him, Nembhard had that slight chest push out and that slight extend forward, knowing just the threshold of not fouling, but letting him know, I am right here in your grill. And he did it so fast that I'm in your grill was not I'm in your grill, it was I'm in your space. And I'm in the space between your ears. And Gilgeous-Alexander took that shot, assuming that it was not an open look. And he felt like it was contested, even though it wasn't, because Nembhard's subtle body language said exactly that. Andrew Nembhard last night, if you look at the way that he defended down the stretch, and if you look at the fact that he was perfectly willing to take offensive pressure away from Tyrese Haliburton and control the basketball, Andrew Nembhard last night was yes, Haliburton hit the shot. And Toppin was huge with his outside shooting in the second half. But Andrew Nembhard was as much a part of that team's win last night as anybody on that floor. And that's what's great about this Pacers team. Andrew Nembhard isn't going to get headlines for that. Andrew Nembhard's not going to get box score jump out. And you know who cares about that? None. Andrew Nembhard. Did we get the win? Yeah, cool. Let's go. We got one. What did Tyrese Haliburton say when he came to the sidelines? He hits that shot. James Johnson's jumping all over the place. Johnny Furphy's getting TV time because he's running out to celebrate with Haliburton. Neesmith is there. Toppin's on the side saying, I'm open, and then literally he changes his arms from I'm open to 2 fists in the air because he knows it's going in. Everybody in that arena knows it's going in. Everybody in Muskogee, Oklahoma, who's proud to be an Okie from Muskogee, knew that ball was going in. Everybody in Tulsa knew that ball was going in. Everybody at Eskimo Joe's Jumpin' Little Juke Joint in Stillwater, Oklahoma, knew that ball was going in. Everybody, because of who was shooting it. But as soon as he hits it, Haliburton runs to the sidelines. Everybody's celebrating from the Indiana standpoint. Everybody else I mentioned from the Sooner State standpoint is as silent as can be. And the only thing that can be heard is Haliburton saying to his teammates, 1 down. 1 down. Not let's go, not we're going to sweep. 1 down. And 3 to go. Eddie, I thought it was absolutely awesome. You were working, obviously, the producing for the radio network last night. I was at the viewing party with Michelob Ultra at Ale Emporium and Fisher's. It was packed. It was awesome. JMV was there. I was watching it with Brian Kelly from the shop and my friend Dr. Alex Core and my buddy Pat from the movie theater up in Keystone. And we were all, and Renee and all kinds of people that showed up for that. And it was packed wall to wall. And literally everybody for the first 3 quarters of that game was thinking the same thing. Don't get blown out, but man, if we're within 12 to 15, we got a chance here. I want to know from your standpoint, Eddie, at what point as you were listening to it and you're involved in kind of the overall surgery of the broadcast itself, so you're caught in the minutia of it. When did you begin to realize, wait a minute, this might actually be going to the script that we've seen before?
The Miles Turner bank 3. I think that's when it all started to become a reality because there's always a play or two where you have to get a little lucky. And the bank 3 by Miles in the fourth quarter, that is when it really set in like, oh boy, let's buckle up because there's a legitimate chance that they're going to pull out another come-from-behind win in the fourth quarter. And Jake, I talked about it on this show a couple times leading up to yesterday's game 1. I talked about it on Locked On Pacers with Tony East on Wednesday. If this game came down to the wire, Indiana had the upper hand in clutch games and minutes just because of how dominant Oklahoma City had been. And when they get into those situations, their offense gets incredibly bogged down. And everyone around on the floor of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander stands and looks at him, hoping for hero ball that he can save them. And with the way that Indiana defended him all night by funneling every shot to him, making it as hard as possible on him to get a shot, putting him in almost every action when he was on defense, I think that ultimately led to him being short on that final shot. And then Tyrese and Obi Toppin with the recognition that Lou Dort wasn't picking him up the entire length of the floor, and it was Cason Wallace gets him the ball, and Tyrese does the rest.
And you notice that Tyrese Haliburton also, in that last possession, he didn't take the screen because he realized, I'm not going to give them chance for defensive switch or anything. I'm just going right to my spot, and he knew exactly where he was going with that. There are 2 things from Oklahoma City's standpoint, statistically speaking, last night, 2 anomalies, I thought. One that has to be a proceed with caution for Indiana, and one that has to be proceed with optimism for Oklahoma City. And I'll tell you what that is. And here's the biggest thing we're going to do today. Here's the biggest thing we're going to do today. It's a Friday in Indianapolis, Indiana. And why not Indiana? Who's going to win it all? Why not Indiana? 3 wins left. It's Friday. Okay, we're coming off the month of May. This is typically the time of year in Indianapolis when it's like, oh, man, I'm coming off the race and the high of the month of May and everything else, and you kind of ease into the summer. No, to hell with all that. It's a Friday, and it's a celebratory Friday. This is a nonstop Pacer Party Friday. That's what we're doing this entire show. Zach Austerman's going to join us. He was in Oklahoma City, covered the game. He's going to join us on the program today. Kevin Bowen going to join us on the program today. We've got a Franciscan Feel-Good, Good for the Heart Friday, which is a statewide feel-good story, as if the Pacers aren't. But I've got another one for you as well from our friends at Franciscan Health. And we have giveaways today. Concert tickets to give away for Counting Crows, pizza to give away from Chicago's Pizza. We'll do a Chicago's Deep Dish of the day. And it's a celebratory party, Pacer Party Friday today, including I want phone calls from people that want to still live it up. Because some of you probably haven't even gone to bed yet, and I'm here for it. But when we come back, what was good for Indiana that gives them even more optimism in terms of the stat line for Oklahoma City, and what says proceed with caution? I'll explain next. I'm not saying anything. It's all subtlety. Because we're not trying to irritate the basketball gods. We're not trying to jinx anything. It's all subtlety. Because like Tyrese Haliburton said, one down. That's it. One game. One game. Pacers lead the NBA Finals 1-0. As a matter of fact, I did not think about this until just now. And this has probably been posted and spouted and pasted everywhere. Eddie Garrison, I will allow you to correct me if I'm incorrect in this statement.
Ooh, I always love it when you give me a chance to correct you.
For the first time in their history, the Indiana Pacers lead an NBA Finals series.
Correct.
And they led that game by 0.3 of a second. There are a couple of things, if you look at the box score and really break it down, that I think are good news and bad news for both Indiana and Oklahoma City. To begin, I think you have to look at, if you look at the Thunder and offensively, I thought Chet Holmgren, Indiana did a remarkable job. Chet Holmgren is not necessarily a marquee go-to offensive player for Oklahoma City, but he certainly is there. He's their Miles Turner. I mean, he's a very viable option. And they contested basically every shot. And Indiana does not have the size nor strength advantage in the low block, but they were very, very good in contesting shots and making it difficult for Holmgren. So Chet Holmgren to go 2 for 9 is good for Indiana, but if you're Oklahoma City, you look at it and you say, that's kind of the anomaly. That kind of a game is kind of the anomaly. He's not going to be that, quiet offensively more often than not. And you could certainly say the same for Jalen Williams as well, to go 6 of 19. I mean, he got close to his scoring average, but 6 of 19. If you are the Pacers, you have to look at two facts here. Number one, Lou Dort, seemingly, every time I looked up, he was hitting a different three. Now, I had a wonderful time last night. Thank you to Mick Ultra and to Ale Emporium and Fishers for having us out. Meeting everything from the Tomlinson family to, like I said, Pat Dyer was there, and Brian and Alex and John was there, and J-Law. J-Law, who is just a fabulous dude, and I'm happy to say, and talking to J-Law, looks as good and as healthy as I've seen him. Just a beaming smile on his face all the time, which is, just kind of the way that guy carries himself. But it was awesome to see everybody. But I think everybody's thinking the same thing. Every time you look down to go get another Mick Ultra or use the restroom or look down to pick up another Hermanaki wing, it felt like every time that happened, Dort was hitting another open three. Now, I know he had 5 of them. He was 5 of 9. And that's part of his game. I know he's a great defensive player, but it is one of the things about him. He is a guy that is capable of being, over the course of a year, a 45% three-point shooter. He's a very good outside shooter. But they were able to get him those looks. And maybe that's because Indiana was focusing so much on the other two things that I mentioned. But if you're the Pacers, you have to be optimistic about the following. So if you're Oklahoma City, you're optimistic of those anomalies. I don't think those two guys, again, with Holmgren, you're optimistic because you think you're going to get him more involved, and the same with Williams. The giveaway being maybe that then takes away those open looks for Dort. For the Pacers, the reality is this. That was to quote Jim Mora, that was a terrible performance of ball handling, especially in the first half. What did they have, 19 turnovers in the first half?
Yes, but Oklahoma City only 9 points off of those 19 turnovers.
But they looked, though, and again, Eddie, that's yin and yang here, because the yin would be you can't have that number of turnovers, and the yang being it is to their benefit that Oklahoma City was not able to answer off of those. So that helps Indiana, but that's fire you can't play with. What I'm hopeful for and what I love is this. And I know that I have used this analogy probably too often in this series, in these playoffs. But it's because it holds true. It just keeps holding true. I go back to, on the regular, in Rocky, when Apollo Creed knocks Rocky down and he thinks, and he breathes a sigh of relief and he's like, it's over. I finally got rid of this dude. And Rocky's getting himself up off the mat and they pan over and Apollo has this look on his face and you see the air completely leave his abdomen and his shoulders sink and he has this look of total despair of, I can't believe I have to keep going. And the Pacers have exerted their will and their internal strength on every franchise they played so far, and it took longer for some than others to break, but you can only turn around and see that team getting up off the mat so many times before you're like, oh my gosh, enough. And that didn't happen last night, but it's the first crack at it. It's the first time you hear the ice go, do-do-do-do. Hadn't started cracking yet, but wait a minute, my footing is not as stable here as I thought. And you can guarantee yourself that Oklahoma City, going into it, winning 68 games, having home court advantage, beating people by 15, 20, 25 points, and only losing one game at home against a team from the East. One game, right? Against somebody from the East.
Yeah, they lost one game against the Eastern Conference all year. That was Cleveland, and they hadn't lost at home to an Eastern Conference team in over a year.
And who was that?
I don't remember who they last lost to at home, but
I believe their last Eastern Conference home loss was to the Indiana Pacers, I believe. But either way, Oklahoma City got that first little taste of that blood on their mouth. Like, what now? This is a very, very historically good basketball team, and in particular defensively. But the Pacers play offensively with what they call controlled chaos. It's a chaos to the other team. It's controlled by Indiana. And they couldn't get controlled chaos going until the last probably third of that game. And then all of a sudden, like Mark Jackson says in the winning time, 30 for 30, all of a sudden, it happened.
Yeah, you're right.
The shot started falling.
Was Pacers.
March of last year, right?
March of 24, yes.
AJ joins us on the program. AJ, what's up?
You won't believe it. I swear to God, it's my witness. With just under 7 minutes to go, it was down by 14. I told the wife, I'm turning it off. I turned it off, and I went to the room to watch my last episode of White Lotus. And I hear they're going crazy. And
AJ, listen, what episode are you on of White Lotus?
Second to the last.
Okay, no, second to the last?
Of season 3.
So does this mean that you have 3 episodes left?
No, I've got 1.
You only have 1 episode left.
The last episode of the final season.
Okay, then here's what you need to do, AJ. In Game 2, Game 3, and Game 4, you are no longer allowed to watch the final 7 minutes of a Pacer game. This is critically important, AJ. The city is counting on you. The franchise is counting on you, AJ. Listen, I'm watching a show right now called Stick. It's on Apple TV, and it stars Owen Wilson, and it takes place in Indiana. It's weird because it's supposed to be in Fort Wayne, but he reads the Indianapolis Star. Go figure. But having said all that, start picking up another show. I don't care whatever it is. 7 minutes left. That's when you're turning over and you're watching new shows. You got it?
Well, how about if I am open to offers from Oklahoma City?
Listen, no, you're not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize this, AJ. You believe, right, AJ? You believe, right?
Yes, I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't watch it.
And did your wife continue watching?
Yes.
This is another example, AJ, no offense, where clearly your wife is the brains of the household. Now, I don't want you to take that personally, but AJ, the fate is in your hands. Don't screw this up, okay? Listen to this program each day, and you'll find out what happened the night before, or your wife will tell you. But don't screw this up, okay?
Okay. I mean, it's just it's becoming a joke now between me and my family. So.
Listen, AJ, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, brother, right? Bottom line, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We'll continue the phone calls. We have concert tickets and pizza to give away on a Pacer Party Friday. 239-1070 is the telephone number. We'll give concert tickets away on the other side. Counting Crows going to be at the lawn at White River, and we are going to give away tickets for that and get your Pacers thoughts Lines are open for your celebration. Let's all do a group high five next.
My house has
All right, so we're going to continue the party here. Pacer party from last night. Unbelievable Game 1 win. They're a quarter of the way there. And they continue to defy the odds. We will continue talking about how this all came about. Zach Austerman going to join us coming up in about 14 minutes from now. He is covering it for the Indianapolis Star. But let's go to the phone lines where Cindy Denise. Now, I can never recall. Now, Cindy, and my apologies here.
No problem.
It's either, if I'm, you are our female buy one, get one, because we needed to get to 20 female listeners, and you were 19, and so we made up two names for you, and I can't recall. You are Cindy, and I call you Denise, or you're Denise, and I call you Cindy?
I am Cindy.
Okay.
And my second name was Denise when we needed another caller.
Okay. So do you mind if we continue calling you Cindy Denise?
I love it.
Okay, good. All right.
I love it.
All right, so Cindy Denise, what's going on?
Well, I have just been on cloud nine ever since the game last night. I stayed up late watching all of the interviews afterwards. I just couldn't get enough coverage of it. And this win to me just felt bigger and more exciting than any other win that they've had so far in, the playoffs. And I just could not be more proud of these guys for just, sticking to the plan and, bringing home a win. I feel so proud, and I'm so glad you guys are still celebrating too, because that's how I feel. I'm decorating. We've got a 12-foot skeleton. I'm getting him out, and I'm going to put him in the driveway, and we're going to decorate our Jeep, and I just can't stop myself.
Listen, here's the thing. There's really no protocol here, right? We haven't really – it's been 25 years since the Pacers win the finals. The Colts have been to 2 Super Bowls. Those are obviously just one game, and it's a week build-up or 2 weeks build-up. I'll be honest with you. In this job, and John and I talked about this last night when we were there at the viewing party, we're taught and we are, formatted and programmed to have a responsibility from a professional standpoint of talking about games and breaking them down and letting, giving people different takes, that kind of thing. And in this situation, I just think to myself, I don't want to come up with a different take. I want to come up with the same one that everybody else in this city has, and that is, let's just go all in. Let's go all in, and let's enjoy it, and let's soak it in, because we have no idea when we'll be in this situation again. And so why not just go ahead and smell every darn rose along the way? And that's what I plan on doing. And I'm all for you celebrating it. I mean, paint the house, do whatever you got to do, right? I am all in, Cindy.
One thing I just thought of, maybe put out a feeler. I don't know if there's some kind of reception at the airport when the guys come back that could be done, which they might come back Sunday night, really late. So I don't know how many people would be up for that. But, I just feel like I really want them to feel all of our support, every single moment.
I think they do. Did you see the video of the viewing party alone at Gamebridge was unbelievable, right? Now, the challenge there, Cindy, and I appreciate the call, the challenge there is this. Now the team's charter. Back in the day in the mid-'90s, I remember when they beat New York in 95, myself, Aaron Perlman, and Dave Steinberg drove to the airport. We parked my car on the exit ramp off of 465. I got a $175 ticket. Perlman still owes me money for that. We walked across like runways, I kid you not, into the international arrivals, and there had to be 5,000 people there to greet the team, and they did like an impromptu pep rally. It was awesome. It was worth the ticket. It was awesome. But now, of course, they fly charter. It's a little bit different now, so they come into more restricted areas, and that makes that part hard, but it is still tremendous. Billy, don't you lose my number. What's up?
Hey, now, this is Billy here. Love the Pacers win last night. One of the greatest comebacks. If you turn that game off, I don't know what you was doing. There is no way that OKC can shoot with us. They're a great team. That's all good, but they haven't played anybody like the Pacers all out throughout the West. We just we never gave up. I mean, every game, the first 2 games of every series, we have won. So it's awesome. It's just an awesome feeling.
Billy, let me ask you
now.
this. Billy, let me ask you this question. You ready? Now, you sound like a fun guy. Have you called the show before?
No, that's my first time caller.
Is it your first time caller?
Listener, though.
Oh, well, Billy, we appreciate that. Are you a native to Indianapolis?
Yeah, all my life.
Okay.
Been here for 43 years, waiting on this championship.
And what high school?
I went to Arlington.
Arlington, okay.
High School.
Golden Knights, okay. And what year would that? So you would have been around 2000, something like that?
That's right. Took class of 2000. Last time we went to the finals.
Deontay Vaughn and Martin Brothers, somewhere around there with you?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So Billy, here's my thing, okay? With this particular game last night, I want you to answer it honestly. You know basketball, right? Which team do you actually think played more poorly for the majority of the game?
Pacers played bad in the first half, but they reined it in very well. I mean,
they did.
But
you have to, and I appreciate the call, Billy. My point being, if you're Oklahoma City, if you're calling in Oklahoma City radio right now, you got to be thinking to yourself, man, they lost that game, and Indiana did not look great. I mean, that was if you're Oklahoma City, you totally have to be flustered. James. What's up, James?
How you doing, Jake?
Man, I'm good, James. You?
Oh, I'm good. I've got a story for you. You might remember this. This goes back a long time in Pacers. Do you remember when Ralph Sampson was coming out of college and we had a chance to
get coin flip, baby? Steve Stepanovich. They lost the coin flip, and the Pacers ended up with Stepo.
Well, I and several of my friends came up with this idea called Ralph, which stood for Realistic Approach to Get a Pacers Hero. And we took 10 of us, went down to the game at the end of the year against Cleveland because we were a half game ahead of Cleveland. And we all rooted against the Pacers. there was like 7,000 people there.
Brown curtain was pulled around, right?
Yes, and by the end of the game, we had the entire arena rooting against the Pacers. And Sports Illustrated was there, and they came and talked to us, and we got our pictures and an article in Sports Illustrated, and the Pacers were talking about how weird it was that the fans were rooting against them. And Ray Compton, who was
legendary Ray Compton, right, promoter, yep.
He came down, invited us in, and for the rest of the season and the next season, he gave us 45 tickets down at the end of the court, right next to the visitors' bench.
Now, James, is that the last time you rooted against the Pacers?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my man.
The only time.
Okay, now, James, here's the thing. Because the Pacers gave you tickets, and because I got love for Ray Compton, and Ray Compton went on to work for the Colts, he worked for the Ice, great dude, legendary figure in Indianapolis, I'm going to go the way of Ray Compton, James, and we're going to hook you up with tickets. We got tickets for the Counting Crows to give away at Everwise Amphitheater, the Lawn at White River. This is in June. Eddie will get your information. James, we will send you on about your way. And Jonah, Turnbuckle Bill, the rest of you stick around. We will get and continue phone calls. But I want to talk to somebody with boots on the ground. Zach Austerman, Indianapolis Star, was there covering the game last night in Oklahoma City. Joins us next. Hey there, Jake Query. I get it. You probably haven't even eaten since last night because you're still so just absolutely hyped up, right? Maybe your nerves are still going from that game. But lunch is here, and what better way to enjoy lunch than Chicago's Pizza? Chicago's Pizza has 18 central Indiana locations, and, like the Pacers, they are true to the core of teamwork and value and caring about the community. That's what I love about Chicago's Pizza. Not just the pizza lunch buffet, which is fabulous. Think about this. A lunch buffet with traditional pizza, a lunch buffet with deep dish pizza, And, of course, a salad bar with all the fixings, fresh ingredients. That dough's made, handmade fresh on the pizza every single day. So, too, fresh, the salad bar, all the dressings, and a soft drink for just $13. $13. Think about that. That kind of lunch for $13. I mean, that is a bargain like you can't imagine. You're talking about top quality food. But Chicago's Pizza also started in 1979 right here in central Indiana, and they care about the community, and they take pride in their work. There's a story in every slice, and you can taste it with the fresh ingredients right there before your very eyes. Since 1979, Chicago's Pizza, 18 central Indiana locations. Find them online as well, chicagospizza.com.
On 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
The first half, I think, at least from the Pacer perspective, Eddie, can be summed up in one word, and that word would be turnovers. 6 minutes to go in the third. Oklahoma City's in front by 13. Ball knocked away from Nembhard. He got it back. Now feeds it to the left sideline where Toppin beat the shot clock with a three.
Saves the day.
30 seconds to go in the third quarter. Pacers down by 9. McConnell handling it out near the logo at center court with 22 seconds to play. Separation between game and shot clocks right around 10 seconds. Nobody picked up Siakam, And McConnell delivered it into his hands, right corner for a three. Neesmith down the left side, fumbled the dribble, now controls it, runs into a double team in the lane, and sends it out to Toppin, who finds his fifth three-point field goal of the night from the right edge. Nembhard steps back, still bouncing, moving to his left. Here comes a three off the bounce, and he hit it.
Dance with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander first before he hits the step back to cut it to three.
Nembhard working Wallace. He'll launch a three and leave it short. Rebound, Siakam. It's a one-point game as he lays it off the right-hand glass. Gilgeous-Alexander has it, 9 to shoot. The defender is Nembhard. Here comes the left-hand bounce. Penetrates the arc. Nembhard cuts him off, and he missed off the back of the rim. Rebound, Indiana. 8 seconds to go. The Pacers are not going to call a timeout. Haliburton has it with 3, driving with 2, pulling up, and hitting with 0.3 of a second to go. How many more times can this team do that?
Sweets, baby.
Looks like the Pacers are not going to challenge the inbound. They'll play their 5 guys guarding the 4 on the floor. Whoever gets it's going to have to shoot it immediately. Caruso from the near side hash. Flips it toward the goal, and Turner tipped it. The game ends with Indiana winning 111 to 110.
Telling you, hang it in the Louvre, the picture of Tyrese Haliburton, and underneath it, simply the quote, "It ain't over till 0 hits." Tyrese Haliburton kept saying they don't consider the game over until there are zeros on the clock. Fans are starting to realize it ain't over until number 0 hits a shot. Once again, the Pacers with the most improbable of victories. They lead 1-0 now in the NBA Finals over the Oklahoma City Thunder. They have taken back, for now, home court advantage in these finals. And the magic numbers for Indiana, how about the fact that when they score 110 points in this postseason, I believe they have yet to lose in that situation. They went to 111 last night. That looked tenuous for the majority of games. And in addition to that, when they get 6 players in double figures, they are awfully tough to beat. Joining us now on the Ryan Geist Brewery guest line, he was in Oklahoma City. I'm not sure if that means he is back on Hoosier soil or if he is still in the Sooner State. But Zach Austerman, our friend from the Indianapolis Star, was covering it last night for the newspaper. Zach, I'm going to begin with this because you were in the building. Set for me the mood, the atmosphere, and just the overall tone of Thunder fans, both throughout the course of the game and then after the game itself.
It's funny. I actually asked a couple people about this in the locker room because it was kind of hard to explain. And what I mean by that is, first of all, to their credit, that arena was deafening. And I know sometimes we get the college versus pro debate about where you get the better atmosphere, but that arena was, it was, genuinely, there were a couple times where I stuck my AirPods in my ears just because it was so loud. And what was strange about it was, and maybe this was just reflecting of the game more broadly, the crowd was so into it from the beginning. And the Thunder clearly kind of fed off that, and then they got control of the game, and the crowd stayed into it, and it was really loud. But you also kind of sensed, especially in that fourth quarter, just a little bit of nervousness because everybody could feel like, hey, we should probably be a little further ahead here. And for how much it felt like the atmosphere was on top of the Pacers, and for how much it felt like the Thunder were in control of the game, you could not escape the feeling that, Oklahoma City should probably be ahead by more than this. And then the Pacers start hitting threes. Oklahoma City stops hitting shots pretty much. And it was this sort of gradual, it went from kind of frenzy to hey, let's inject a little more energy, into the home team, to this is a little bit nervous, to hey, we might be in some trouble here, to the point where Haliburton hits the shot, and I mean, you start to see people screaming for the exits. Like I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. It was like watching a fast forwarded version of like a caterpillar entering a cocoon and then coming out a butterfly, where it was one thing for such a long time, and then kind of slowly, and then all at once it transformed into something completely different because of the way the Pacers played.
It just, Zach, it feels like with this group, and I was, last night I was at our viewing party from Michelob Ultra, put on a viewing party, and we were at the Ale Emporium, and we're watching it, and I'm saying to everybody, if they can just get to the point of being within like 7 to 9, let's say, within the last 3 minutes, then you feel like they got a chance, because that's what they've done. It's really remarkable once the threes start going. So I want to get to that, Zach. What changes do you think Indiana made? Because I thought Oklahoma City did an outstanding job in the first half of the game in particular of not denying Indiana's initial offensive pass, but rather the second pass that then starts getting their movement going. They clamped down on that spot, and then, like I said, it was like the Pacers were trying to move through a car wash. There just were hands all over the place, and Indiana made an adjustment to that to then facilitate to get their shooters in their areas. But what specifically do you think it was that they did?
Well, I think there are a couple of things. I agree. First of all, like Indiana just kind of got the ball moving downhill a little bit more. Like it was moving so side to side, and that's always kind of a, when you're only moving the ball sideways or laterally in your offense, that means you're not getting penetration. You're constantly kind of running into a wall. And then of course, there was the turnover issue in the first half, which just kind of exacerbated everything. Number one was, and actually, I thought this was a little bit of a, I'm hesitant to criticize coaches too much, especially when I have not watched, the NBA in depth all season. But I thought when Mark Dagnall went to smaller lineups, it was noticeable down the stretch, third quarter, and especially in the fourth quarter. Like every time he did, Rick Carlisle, it was like he couldn't wait to match it. Every time Oklahoma City went small, Carlisle was like, boom, great, we'll go small too. And he'd bring Toppin in, he'd run Toppin and Siakam, and suddenly you looked around and everyone on the floor for the Pacers could shoot. And obviously a big piece of that was Toppin. He was on fire last night. I think he had 5 at the end. But everybody on the floor could shoot. And so suddenly you can't be quite so, especially if you're a little more tired than you were in the first half, you can't pressure, quite so effectively, because pressure sometimes requires leaving your man, but everybody on the floor can shoot. You suddenly can't get away with that. And then the other thing that happened, and I think this is a credit more to the Pacers defense and maybe a little bit the Thunder's youth as well, the Thunder stopped hitting shots. In the first half, to me, one of the things the Pacers really had to use as an equalizer in this series, and it's simplistic, but it's true, is the three-point line. In the first half, the Pacers outshot the Thunder 8-7 and made threes. In the second half, it was 10-4. The Thunder did not make a three.
And the fourth quarter in particular, it was lopsided, right?
Yeah. And so they're kind of, and we could talk about how long should Shai Gilgeous-Alexander have been on the bench, and I think that's something that Oklahoma City's kind of done with him, is like rest him and use him as a little bit more of a closer and all that. But basically, the Pacers really started, I think, tightening up on Oklahoma City defensively in ways that they weren't able to in the first half, because they were constantly just putting out fires from all of their turnovers and all of their mistakes. Once they cut those down, they were able to kind of push back a little bit defensively on OKC. And once those threes start falling, and I was talking to somebody after the game, and we were both sort of saying, how does this team keep doing this? And I said, this comeback at least makes a little more sense, because the Pacers are an excellent three-point shooting team, and if you start letting them hit them in bunches and you can't match that, you're in trouble. And that's what happened to Oklahoma City.
Zach, what was the mood afterwards? Zach Austerman is our guest from the Indianapolis Star. He's on the Rheingeiss Brewery guest line. After the game, when you were in the locker room, you've been in a lot of locker rooms. I realize that, the Pacers isn't your primary beat, but you've been in locker rooms. You're no stranger to this. The thing about this Indiana team from the outside to me that is so impressive is even when Haliburton hit that shot, it was the presence of mind, first off, of knowing that there was still 0.3 of a second left. And Haliburton, you could hear him saying, like, one down, just one down. It's just one game. But that's on the outside. When you were in the locker room, what was the mood, the vibe? How was it different than, say, regular season stuff for a team?
That is where you sort of wonder if the experience factor manifests itself. I mean, number one, I think we've all seen, whether you're around it in the locker room, whether you're observing it, just as a fan or on TV, whether you're covering it as a reporter, I think we've all seen teams that just kind of start to believe in themselves and start to gain that extra, 5% confidence. The Pacers, I made this comparison again to somebody last night. The Pacers remind me a little bit of like a baseball team, and this hasn't exactly been the Pacers journey this year, but a baseball team that plays 500 ball for 4 months. So we just kind of stop watching them. And then we ignore the fact that for the last 2 months of the season, they're playing 105-win baseball. And they get to the playoffs and we don't take them seriously because we're paying attention to teams that have been bitter over the whole season. But what we're not recognizing is that in this point in the calendar, they're playing as well as anybody in the league. And I think the Pacers have some of that confidence. And of course, it helps when you get road wins, when you have some of these come from behind wins, et cetera. I think that you start to just have that little extra 3 to 5% of we were meant to be here, and not necessarily we're a team of destiny, but that you just have a little bit of belief that's not grounded in anything other than belief, basically. But it goes a long way, especially at this time of year. And I think the other thing, when you talk about that composure, when you talk about just this group in general, this is less of a criticism, I think, of Oklahoma City, or not a criticism, but less of a shortcoming for Oklahoma City. But it's more of, to my mind, if the Pacers are going to win this series, it needed to start like this, because getting ahead 1-0 lets the more experienced team, the team that's been on these stages a little bit more. This team was in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. They've been in big games in New York, big games in Indianapolis, big games in Cleveland, et cetera. They've got the more experienced head coach. They've got guys on their roster with rings. They needed to get out in front first and let some of that experience, let some of that composure really sort of manifest itself. It's great having experience, but if you come back down 2-0 because Oklahoma City is an outstanding team, the Paycom Center is a really tough place to play, then that only means so much. But being able to handle success in the playoffs is sometimes as important or more important than being able to bounce back from failure. And I think, to your point, this Pacers team, they were, there was juice in the locker room, everybody was excited, but there was a lot of composure too. There was a lot of just, we've done this before. This was just the first step. I think Aaron Nesmith said something like, basically, this was our first goal, was just to win game 1, because that puts us on a good footing. Now we move on to the next thing, and I think we could all understand that the next thing is to win game 2. But it is a team with the experience, with the composure and the confidence, I think, to be able to break up something like a 7-game NBA Finals into its component parts and say, we are only going to worry about this first, then we'll move on to the next thing, and then the thing after that, and again and again. And I'm not sure the Pacers are going to win the series, but I do think the more experienced team, and maybe the more, I don't want to call them battle-tested, but they might be, team getting game 1 the way they did, I think is a big step in that direction because of the makeup of these two teams.
How loud was that place last night?
It was seriously, they put the decibel thing up. You have no idea if that's real, but a couple times it broke 100. I mean, it was genuinely very, very loud. It sounded like the stories you hear about old Canadian hockey arenas where, like, you just, it's nuts and nobody can hear themselves think. And, again, they were responding to everything. Obviously, it's a crowd that's seen a lot of winning basketball, not just with this group, but with the, kind of the Durant, Harden, Westbrook generation as well. It was an incredible atmosphere. And again, that was kind of in a way something that made the Pacers' performance even more impressive. Was it wasn't like Oklahoma City just kind of happened all at once and they were up 25 and then they just started to kind of
that's their
collapse
thing,
into the
Zach. I mean,
atmosphere.
Oak City's whole MO is to get up about 12 and then go on a slight run and then step on people's throats, and before you know it, you're down 25. And they were never able, as much as it felt like the Pacers were never able to get inside of like the 9-point hump, Oklahoma City was never able to get past the 15-point margin. And that, I thought, was the difference maker, that they just kept Indiana. They never let them in the house, but they kept them in the front yard for the vast majority of the game, and then finally they broke in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I saw a tweet from someone. Forgive me, I don't remember who, that said the Pacers are elite at overstaying their welcome, and I thought that was a really good line. And again, like the crowd was really into it, and they were into it in a way that was sustained. It wasn't like OKC just shut the cover off the ball for 15 minutes and then just kind of went completely silent. And so there was like this spike in energy in the building, but then it kind of waned off. That it was that sort of, like you said, it was like it's an 8-point lead. Now it's a 12-point lead. Now it's a 9-point lead. Now it's a 15-point lead. So the crowd was engaged and intensely into it the whole time. And it wasn't like the Pacers were throwing haymakers, here's a 12-0 run. There were a couple of runs, but like, it wasn't like the Pacers were just silencing them left and right. It was sustained, intense atmosphere that Indiana just kind of kept playing through until, again, those shots start going down, and then, that's job done.
Zach, dumb question for you to conclude. Zach Austerman is our guest, Indianapolis Star. He's on the Rhinegeist Brewery guest line. Covered Game 1 last night for the Star with the Pacers. Do the Pacers – I know the staff that went to the game flew back last night, got back at like 4 in the morning. Did the Pacers themselves, the team, because they don't play until Sunday, do they come back now or do they stay in Oklahoma City?
I believe they stay because there's media tomorrow. So if they were to go home, then they would just have to turn around and come back. And the media's in the afternoon, so I would assume they'd have to come back. Do you think they all take like a field trip together to the Banjo Museum and the Cowboy Hall of Fame and that kind of thing? You can see the AAA ballpark from my hotel room, so we could all just go watch. I think they got one of those 6-game series. Reno's in town.
Is that the 89ers? What's Oklahoma City's minor league team now known as?
Oklahoma City's the Comets.
I believe they are. Are they the Mariners Farm Club?
The Dodgers. They're the Dodgers affiliate, and they're hosting
so
Reno,
basically, if you're
the Diamondbacks,
if you're playing for Oklahoma City, you got no chance to make the bigs. So you just live in Oklahoma City for a long time, right? Because you're in the Dodger system.
I think they have a few guys like Justin Dean and Nick Senzel that I think when you're a team like the Dodgers, you're always stashing a few kind of either really like specifically skilled players that are like speed merchants or defense guys, or guys that have a lot of major league experience that if you need to call somebody up for 3 weeks, you're
I mean, Oklahoma City and LA are similar places, right? I mean, it's 6 1 half dozen the other, right? Whichever one you're living in.
I mean, they're both waterfront.
That's that's right.
So,
that's right.
But in the other direction from my hotel room, there's an IHOP and a Bass Pro Shops. So
well, usually IHOPs are usually in the lobby of the Howard Johnson. So that's, I mean, you know what I mean? It makes sense that you'd be close to one, right? Because you're at the Oak City Hojo, right?
Are there even Howard Johnsons anymore? I don't think there are.
There are in our radio, in our radio theater of the mind. There are, right? Shag carpeting, the whole deal. Derek Schultz and I stayed at Howard Johnson's in the Final Four in San Antonio, so there's at least one left, yes. They had a free continental breakfast. It was 2-day-old croissants and USA Today's from a week ago. But other than that, it was great.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
Derek was a go-getter in the morning. It sucked. All right, Zach, we will be looking for your coverage for game number 2, Sunday night, Pacers and Thunder of the NBA Finals, as Indiana tries to take a 2-0 lead, which would be absolutely incredible. Appreciate the time, as always, Zach.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Good talking to you.
All right, Zach Austerman from the Howard Johnsons in Enid, actually, is where he was, right across. Do you like the IHOP? Are you an IHOP or Waffle House guy, Eddie?
Waffle House for sure.
Really?
Yes. Don't know what it is about Waffle House, but major preference to Waffle
Man,
House.
I'll tell you what,
over
people
IHOP.
in the South, they love some Waffle House, right? What about Stuckey's? You ever gone to a Stuckey's?
Never heard of it.
Excuse me?
Never heard of it.
You never had a pecan roll from Stuckey's?
I don't like pecan, so I would never even consider that.
You ever drive down south? It seems like there's a Stuckey's and an ad for Rock City and Ruby Falls like every 50 miles. Jonah joins the program. Jonah, what's up?
Well, someone else went to the ale last night to meet you, and it was finally good to meet you.
You know what? Did I not mention you earlier that I saw you?
No, you didn't.
Well, my apologies.
No offense taken.
Okay, so here's the thing, Jonah, because you were on with us last night, which was awesome, right? And I thought about you last night, and let me tell you why.
Okay.
Here's what I've always liked about you, Jonah. From the time that you began calling the radio shows, now were you raised in Indiana?
Yeah, I was born in Peoria, Illinois, but I moved here in '87 when I was 2.
Okay. So you were raised in Indiana. You moved to Arizona. You have a daughter, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes. Yep. She'll be 10 this year.
And then you, after living in Arizona, and Arizona has a lot to offer, but I always felt like, and I think we touched on this a little bit last night, but I always felt like one of the things about this job that I enjoy is it's easy to take it for granted. It's easy like any other job to feel like, okay, I got to go to work today. But I always appreciated and respected that you were open about the fact that I felt like doing sports talk radio was allowing for you, for example, living in Arizona, to still feel connected to home and to still feel home in Indiana. And Indiana is different than a lot of places in the fact that there's something about it that has a home feel to it. And the fact that you are, that your daughter is a huge part of your life and that you're back home in Indiana and that all of this is coming together for the Pacers at a time when all of us are feeling pretty good about ourselves of being Hoosiers, it delighted me to know that you were back here to be able to witness it and take it in firsthand, even though we enjoyed being able to bring it to you from afar via the radio. But for all of those reasons, I thought it was very fitting to see you last night.
Jake, there's something about the Midwest hospitality that's just so much more different. And it's always going to be my home, whether I was here or not. But I'm back home, and that will never leave my soul.
Now, you also, Jonah, witnessed something last night, and I don't know if you were witness to it, but I want to know. I need an impartial judge and jury here. Okay. You were up, and we had you on the show when I was with John, just as Shannon was coming up to let me know that she was leaving. So you did. I don't know if you met Shannon briefly, right, when you got there or when she arrived. I know you went over and introduced yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. She seemed to me overly giddy once she realized that J&B was there. Did you notice that also? Did she seem to you to be more excited about John's presence than mine?
Jake, when she came up to say bye to you, she gave him a hug first before she even acknowledged.
That's actually true. That's actually true. I think we have footage of it, right? All right, Jonah.
Yeah,
did you stay to the end of the game? Did you stay till the end of the game?
No, I left at halftime. I actually, I don't want to admit this on the radio. I actually was not feeling well at halftime. My stomach was hurting, and I'm like, I just.
Hey, you weren't the only one, man. Listen, you weren't the only one. There are a lot of people just based on the way that game was going. But here's the thing, Jonah, lastly, okay? Your daughter, you said, is 10. She lives in Indianapolis as well, correct?
Anderson. I mean, I live in Noblesville. She lives in Anderson. But
okay.
Yeah, it's Central Indiana.
Well, here's the thing. I want to make sure that you are able to take her out at some point and enjoy a fabulous dinner. Just the two of you sit down, have some good pizza, a little father-son bonding, or father-daughter, bonding time. So, Jonah, we're going to hook you up with a $30 gift card to Chicago's Pizza. They got 18 Central Indiana locations. You can use it for delivery or pickup. You can use it for lunch, or you can just simply use it to take your daughter out and have, whether it be deep dish pizza, traditional style, thin and crispy, you name it. Chicago's they are all about family, and they're all about the family feel, and so I want to make sure that you, Jonah, are enjoying it. So we've got a gift card I'm going to hand you right now for Chicago's Pizza, all right?
Oh, you're the best, Jake.
All right, Jonah,
I
we
do
will
have
get all
one
your
question.
information here, and Eddie will make sure that you are hooked up with it. Before we take a quick recess, let's squeeze in Aaron, who called in. Aaron, what's going on?
Hey, Aaron. Hey, Jake, this is Aaron calling from Florida. I won the Connor Daly name for the drivers for the race, but
Perfect.
I never heard back from
Aaron.
Buster Truck on the gift card.
Here's the thing. I've got the gift card for you, and I'd given the shout-out. Yes, indeed, you had Connor Daly, so I have the gift card. So what we're going to do is Eddie's going to get your information. I'm going to send it down to you, all right?
I appreciate it. Love the show.
Did you watch the game last night?
Man, I tell you what, my daughter had her dance recital, so I was peeking over the shoulder of my nephew. He had the game on his phone. Wasn't looking great. We got home. We turned it on. I watched it with my son and my parents who were visiting down from Greenfield, Indiana. And
Aaron,
if you have an email, I got a clip I could show you that make you chuckle, man.
My email address, Aaron. My email address
What's that?
could not be any easier. Here's what we're going to do. I need you to email me right now, Aaron, and email me the clip and your information so we can get you the Cluster Truck gift card. And I appreciate you following up on that because we gave the shout-out a couple of days after the race for people to get in touch with us. So, Aaron, my email address is very easy to remember. It's jakequery@me.com. Now, if you forget that, just remember, it's my two favorite people on the planet, Jake Query and me. jakequery@me.com is my email. Send me that, Aaron. And also, if your daughter does not, or your niece, does not have a dance recital on Sunday, she does now because we need you to continue exactly what you were doing for game number 2 as you were doing in game number 1. Come back, give you my thoughts on last night. Kevin Bowen in 30.
Off the mark, won't go. Rebound, Indiana. 8 seconds to go.
The Pacers with a chance to win it.
Haliburton has it with 3, driving with 2.
Pulls up, jump shot.
And hitting!
It's good! It's good!
With 0.3 of a second to go.
Ultimate confidence in himself.
Tyrese Haliburton does it again!
Boom, baby! How many more times can this team do that?
He's a baller, man. He's a hooper.
자, 언더독인 인디애나가 익숙한 상황을 맞이한다. 할리버튼 버텨내는데요. 할리버튼! 와우!
Sweet baby.
Eddie Garrison with the ensemble there.
I would love to take credit for that, but I did not do it. Kylan Talley did it. She put it all together.
Kylan, nice job. Kylan's in the other room. She gave me the Caitlin Clark hand logo thing there.
I'm glad you're here, Jake.
Just be careful, Kylan. That little hand logo with the wrong saying can get your credential stripped for a year. So last night, the Pacers hit the magic number of 110 because they defeated the Oklahoma City Thunder 111-110. And let me go back to what I had mentioned earlier. I thought about this last night, and yes, I'm going to incorporate a personal anecdote to this. Today is my mom's 82nd birthday. I don't think my mom would even be upset with me mentioning the age because she's a very youthful 82. She's 82 going on 60. Still has lunch with the girls on the regular basis, still helps out at the Children's Corner preschool that has been a staple of her adulthood, etc. But when I was a kid, my mom, as I was thinking last night about the fact that it is her birthday today, and I was doing so still in the glow of that incredible finish for the Pacers. And that was one of those games last night where it's 12:45, 1 o'clock in the morning, and you just know that the entire city is still awake. Nobody was going to bed because they're all still watching it, and you couldn't get enough. I thought Brad Brown did a nice job on Channel 6 right after the game, going right into local coverage and, getting even, now you're getting to see the players' speeches or not speeches, but, press conferences and everything else. I mean, it was awesome. And you can't get enough of it. You're watching Scott Van Pelt interviewing Haliburton, and you're turning everywhere to find other perspectives on it. It was awesome. So I was up very late. I usually am. And I thought about the fact that it was my mom's birthday. And I went back to, as I mentioned earlier, when I was a kid, my mom would always write a note on a napkin in my lunchbox in school, or birthday cards. Every card to this day that my mom writes to me or to my 2 sisters, she writes the same thing. You are a UM. And then she always puts, love you, TGR. Now, when I was a kid, my mom let my sisters and I know that when she was a kid, someone had told her that the highest number in existence is Trot Gallop Run. Trot Gallop Run is higher than infinity. If there's an infinite number of stars in the sky, then Trot Gallop Run is even larger than that. So to put a measure on something that is immeasurable is Trot Gallop Run. And I thought about last night how the Pacers and the number of times seemingly that they can pull out miracles is Trot Gallop Run. There seems to be no limit to it. Their heroics are limitless. Their resolve is limitless. It is Trot Gallop Run. And then I thought about the fact that on my mom's birthday that she would always, our thing within our family is that she would always say, you are UM, which means an unrepeatable miracle. And as much as everything that my mom has taught me or my mom represents, I see in the Pacers in what I'm talking about, the one area where a mantra of my mom does not apply is unrepeatable miracle because they continue to repeat them. The Pacers continue to repeat the miracle. And that team, as I said last night, Tyrese Haliburton said after the game to anybody that would ask, look, we're just a team of great resolve, and we don't consider the game over until the clock hits 0. And that's when it hit me. It ain't over till 0 hits on the clock and the guy wearing that jersey number. Because as long as there is a microcosm of time left on the clock, and Tyrese Haliburton's on the floor for this particular installment of the Indiana Pacers, you feel like there is indeed the chance, and that dude ain't going to miss. Obi Toppin knew he wasn't going to miss. Obi Toppin had his arms out instinctively like, I'm open, pass me the ball. And then he realized who it was that had the ball. And his arms actually then went upright into a, here we go. Aaron Nesmith knew he wasn't going to miss. Aaron Nesmith came over to set a screen for Haliburton, but then he realized that in doing so, perhaps it would make a switch. And Haliburton, who had gotten his man off of him, might have actually been in trouble then if there had been some sort of a switch. And so Aaron Nesmith knew this dude's not going to miss. James Johnson knew he was on the sideline. And you could see his shiny grill from Oklahoma City to Waco because he was smiling so big before Haliburton even let go of the ball. Thomas Bryant knew it. He was in that Thomas Bryant pose where he bends down a little bit and he's kind of bopping side to side like he knows he's this combustible being that's about to just explode with excitement, which is what Thomas Bryant kind of does. And Ben Shepherd and TJ McConnell and Andrew Nembhard and Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam and Jarris Walker and Johnny Furphy and Tony Bradley and Isaiah Jackson, if he was there, every one of them, they all knew. They all knew what was going to happen. And yet, when it happened, the only sounds you could hear inside that arena were the Pacer employees that were chartered there, the sporadic fans sprinkled throughout that were rooting for Indiana, and Tyrese Haliburton saying to his team, one down. It wasn't a celebration of it's over. Last night as I laid there in bed, I thought about the fact that the Pacers' limit is Trot Gallop Run, and their miracles are in fact repeatable. But I didn't start thinking about, even though it started dancing in my head, the possibilities of a parade and a celebration and what it would mean in this glorious city on a beautiful June day coming off of the month of May, where typically this time of year we're kind of getting our energy back after the month of May and the 500 and everything else. But in fact, it's this crescendo of something even bigger. But I didn't allow myself to totally start thinking in entirety and totality about the parade because I knew Pascal Siakam, Aaron Nesmith, Andrew Nembhard, Tyrese Haliburton, Miles Turner, Thomas Bryant, TJ McConnell, Benedict Mathurin, Ben Shepherd, James Johnson, Jarris Walker, Johnny Furphy, Isaiah Jackson, Tony Bradley, Rick Carlisle, Jenny Busek, Jim Boylan, all of them. Lloyd Pierce. I knew all of those people aren't thinking about the parade at all because they're thinking one down, 1/4 the way there. That focus and that resolve and that discipline is what makes this team different, because that parade and that championship and that celebration is not over. It's not planned. The series is not over until the 4th game is won. Just like last night, that game was not over until the 4th quarter was done. And they turned the ball over ad nauseum in the first half, and they couldn't hit shots at all in the first half, and they were allowing second chance opportunities for Oklahoma City throughout the first and second half. But the reason this team is in the situation they're in is because with each and every game, it ain't over till the clock hits 0. And when it does hit 0, that's when it is an immediate wipe clean of the Etch-a-Sketch and back now to another game. That mental fortitude, that resolve, that maturity beyond their years is the reason why they're 3 away. But we talk about that, and they don't. And that's why I love them. And that's what we all can learn from this team as we continue to learn, and why we're so proud to have the Indiana Pacers representing Indianapolis. There have been great teams that have come through this town. But I don't know that there are many that connect from personality, humility, and resolve like this team does. And that's why it's oh so special that not only do they represent us in the best way possible, not only do they represent the core principles of this city and this state in the best way possible, but they're doing it by letting the rest of the world know about it because they're 3 away. But only we talk about that. They see it as simply one down. Eddie, if you were in an establishment that had a jukebox, I realize now these things are all usually done remotely with your phone, but you would put in what song?
Man, I'm not sure. It would depend on what they had available.
I used to play a lot a song that at the time I loved. It's kind of played itself out now, but I went through a phase where I used to go to Plump's Last Shot a lot. Good place in Broad Ripple. And they had on their jukebox the song Laid by James. Do you know that song?
No.
I used to play that on that jukebox all the time. It was a great song. Totally catchy, totally easy, fun, sing-along song. We're going to do a kind of a deep dish here on the Pacers box score from last night and the pros and cons, if you will. And by the way, whenever we get deep into something like that, that means your chance at a deep dish pizza from Chicago's Pizza. So we will then give away a gift certificate to Chicago's Pizza. Of course, Chicago's Pizza, 18 Central Indiana locations. You hear me talk a lot about it. Absolutely love Chicago's. And whether it's their traditional, their thin and crispy, their deep dish pizza, gluten-free, all kinds of options. And the best quality of cheese on that pizza as well. But if you look last night, I mentioned this earlier. In certainly the first quarter of the game, and in particular the first half of the game, the Pacers offense, what they do is they come down and, Haliburton is the one that is necessitating or setting the pace with this, okay? And when they come down and set up their offense, they make a quick decision whether or not they are immediately getting the ball down into an entry point like with Siakam or going into the high post to Turner. And you notice last night they tried to get Turner established early with a 3 up top because that then draws so much away because you got to respect Turner. And they're trying to pull Holmgren and Hartenstein away from the low post. But when they make that entry point, Indiana, at the top of the key, and Turner is the one that then kind of starts facilitating, I'll call it the water fountain, just the constant rotation of the water coming, of the players coming around, and that motion offense they run of cycling that ball around until they get either an open mid-range or corner 3, whatever it might be. Oklahoma City last night did an outstanding job of denying the second pass. So they were allowing the pass to get to the top of the key, but then they were sealing off those gears that were turning, and you didn't get the players that were able to cycle around whoever had the ball at the top of the key. And they're slapping in and reaching, and as I said earlier, it was literally like trying to walk through a car wash without having one of those things on the side hit you because there was just stuff coming in from every angle no matter what Indiana tried to do in that regard. And that led to their 19 turnovers in the first half, 24 in the game. They got it cleaned up, did Indiana, by the second half. They started, and I think a huge part of that in the second half was Oklahoma City decided to cut off the snake at the head by slowing down Tyrese Haliburton when the ball was in his hands, and that was slowing down the Pacers' offense. So then what Indiana did kind of subtly was they moved the ball away from Haliburton primarily being the ball handler and got it into the hands of Andrew Nembhard. And Nembhard's a guy, he doesn't care what he scores. He's an opportunity scorer, and he can hit shots when they're open. He was only 4 of 11 last night. But he is able to facilitate. He had 6 assists last night. But he also is a very underrated and underappreciated composed chaos ball handler. He has kind of this weird hop ability with the basketball to not get pigeonholed into any area. And so when everything else is slowing down, he's able to kind of keep the ball moving around to different areas because of his ability and composure to not turn it over and just kind of keep their offense stable. And so the Pacers last night pulling out a win in a game where it took them that long to figure that out and make that adjustment. And then in addition to that, their three-pointers weren't going until they kind of made those adjustments. And then in the fourth quarter, suddenly it started to go for them. And that befuddled Oklahoma City. And what that did was it then forced Oklahoma City to kind of continue to force feed the ball for them in terms of their offense to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is an outstanding player. But they got away from their complementary pieces. Jalen Williams never got in rhythm. And then outside of that, you didn't have consistent scoring from elsewhere. Early in the game, Hartenstein was very good on second chance opportunities. Holmgren was able to get to the rim early in the game. They went away from those two things, and I think they became their offense a little too isolated with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he still had 38. So for Gilgeous-Alexander to have 38 points, and yes, he didn't get to the line as often as you'd like, but a 38-point game from your MVP. Late in the game, he has a chance to essentially, at the very least, put them in position where overtime was their worst-case scenario, but probably salt the game with his shot. And Nembhard guarded him brilliantly. Nembhard, who knows him well, they've grown up playing against one another. They were teammates on Team Canada. And Nembhard flashed out to him as if he was going to be on him and then dropped off so that Alexander couldn't get to the basket, but had shown him just enough with his chest and the push out that Alexander had it in his mind that Nembhard was right on him. And so Alexander took a shot that was open, but he was taking it as if he wasn't, because that's what was in his mind. But if you are the Pacers, you have to feel optimistic about a game where you turned it over 24 times, where you took a long time to get your offense in rhythm, where Siakam, for example, still was not a consistent low-post scorer for them, although he was opportunistic, especially in the fourth quarter. And Alexander had 38. And Caruso, for example, played good minutes for them. And with that, you still end up with the win. You have to feel optimistic if you're Indiana. You have to. And if you go up 2-0, then we really start racing in our minds, but we can't go there yet, right?
38 points on 30 shots. They made him work for those 38, Jake.
Correct. And he looked winded, I thought.
Yes, because like I mentioned earlier, they kind of copy and pasted what they did with Donovan Mitchell to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And I think Caitlin Cooper pointed this out, that they funneled everything to SGA, forcing him to be the one to initiate the offense, to get them into whatever set or action they wanted to get into, and force him to be the one that's always taking the shot and making life hard on the other four that were on the floor with SGA at all times. And I said that I felt like he was worn down at the end, and that shot probably is short just because he played 40 minutes. He had taken 30 shots, and they were putting him in every action defensively when the Thunder were on defense. And the other thing that stood out to me in this win, Jake, is if you look at the rebounding difference, Indiana was plus 17. That's an area in which they have struggled mightily all season long. And to be plus 17, to have 13 offensive rebounds, you have 3 players with a double-double in points and rebounds, and Miles was 1 rebound away from being 4. It was just a weird game, but they won.
It was great. It was great. Chicago's Pizza, by the way, 18 Central Indiana locations. Speaking of great, Chicago's is exactly that. We got a $30 gift card to give away. We'll do it as part of our deep dish that we just did on Chicago's Pizza, or on the game last night. And deep dish, of course, the specialty of Chicago's Pizza, but they have a wide array of different styles. It is Detroit style, Chicago style, and Indiana heritage. That's what you get at Chicago's Pizza. Caller number, what are we going with, Eddie?
2, because they're going for win number 2 on Sunday.
I like that. Caller number 2, 239-1070. Kevin Bowen, other side. Pacers 1-0 lead for the first time in the history of Indianapolis, Indiana, for the first time in the history of the Indiana Pacers, for the first time in the history of the National Basketball Association. The Pacers have a series lead in the finals championship round. But, of course, as Tyrese Haliburton said, it is just one game. 1 down, 3 to go. And this is a team with their resolve that doesn't seem to count on anything being official until it is indeed over with. And so you have to maintain that same focus. Joining us now on the Ryan Geist Brewery guest line, of course, you hear him in the morning along with James Boyd and Jeff Rickard on the Fan Morning Show, Kevin Bowen, who joins us each Friday. And, Kevin, I want to get to the Pacers news, obviously. I know you guys talked about it the majority of the morning, but at the same time, there is another franchise in town that I want to address because we haven't really talked about it today, and you have been all over this story, and that is the happenings on West 56 with the Colts. And already I think we're starting to get glimpse of, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but there have been some changes administratively since the daughters of Jim Irsay now have been, they are in control of the team. And let's begin with the on-field stuff first. Anthony Richardson and the shoulder. This, in your opinion, when Shane Steichen brought it up, seemed to be what level of concern versus simply precaution?
Well, I would say any missed time for him is a major concern. I don't know if Shane painted that sort of light, but if I could insert my own color on it, that's how I would view it. Especially this time of year, a little bit of rest or dialing it back in February, March, even early April or May is fine. But this is the 11-on-11 period of the off season. And if you look at the 9 days, they'll have such practices. Daniel Jones will have taken the full starting reps in 7 of those 9. And him and Anthony will split the other 2. So that's not ideal for a guy that, again, he needs all of these reps. He needs them to prove himself. He needs them to train his body to try and make the new fundamental changes be a little bit more, normal feeling and not super robotic. So, yeah, I think it's a major, major deal, even if, all things go according to plan and the best case scenario happens and he's out there throwing the first day of training camp, which, again, Shane definitely did not commit to that yesterday.
Kevin, let me tell you one thing to me that is kind of fascinating. And you and I have done radio together. We've known each other for a while. You know that I'm a classic in some examples overthinker, right? Maybe to a fault. I will admit that to a fault. So I want you to tell me if I'm overthinking this. But one of the things that I find fascinating, in particular through the camps here, is you have a general manager who, by all account, it's in his best interest that one of the 2 quarterbacks, meaning Anthony Richardson, is a success story. And it feels like the general manager's security may still be linked to the success of Anthony Richardson. Whereas you have a head coach who just needs a quarterback to be successful. He doesn't care who it is. And if Daniel Jones is the better option, then for Shane Steichen, that's his best interest because that's what's going to help the coach win games and start to get security. So you have kind of 2 different eyes looking in 2 different directions. Is this 3:28 in the morning Jake Query overthinking it?
I think in some franchises you'd be onto something like Chicago, for example. Their head coach, their GM, or I should say their head coach did not draft Caleb Williams, or wasn't on the staff when he did, whereas here, both of them were on the staff. So I don't think I necessarily view it in that light. And again, are Ballard and Steichen tied to the hip? That's probably the $1 million question, considering they've got 6 different years of resume, or I forget the difference. And I guess Ballard's 9 years into it, Steichen's 2 years into it, so maybe 7 years difference. And as much as they are tied at the hip, let's say all of a sudden the Colts and Daniel Jones win 10 games this year, would they fire Ballard just because it was not Anthony Richardson winning those 10 games for them? Again, that's a question that's left to be answered by, Carly and I guess Carly, assuming that she's going to be the spokesperson for the family. So Yeah, again, I think in other franchises, you'd definitely be like, it'd be accurate and it'd be weird and awkward. But here, I mean, Steichen signed off on, Richardson as much as Ballard signed off on Richardson. So I would think that they are tied together if the sole evaluation point of this season is Anthony Richardson or not. And, who knows? Maybe the Colts don't view it in that light. Maybe they view it in a light of, no. Whatever they can figure out quarterback-wise, we'll evaluate off of that.
When you look, Kevin Bowen is our guest on the Rhine Geist Brewery guest line. When you look, Kevin, and yesterday we brought this up. Eddie, I think, was the first one to bring it up, maybe even 2 days ago. But Morocco Brown, who, and I don't know the exact title, but he had ascended in 2022 or 2023 to within the executive areas of the Colts. But he was the man who essentially was the most responsible for the scouting of Anthony Richardson and was very vocal about his belief in Anthony Richardson. And maybe it's coincidence, but yesterday at the time that we find out that Richardson has the shoulder soreness from the same place where he had surgery, then we find out that Brown apparently is no longer with the organization. What can you tell us about that situation or story?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure his contract was up, and so I don't know how mutual it was, but I think that is where you see the departure. Scouting contracts usually are draft to draft, typically, for a lot of those guys within those sorts of jobs. And for those unfamiliar who Morocco Brown is, I guess I'd label him maybe like, I don't know, third or fourth in line. Chris Ballard is overwhelmingly one. Ed Dodds, I would say, is overwhelmingly two. And then maybe I'm forgetting somebody, but scouting-wise, I would think Morocco Brown would be that third one there. So they actually have had a lot of consistency within the scouting department. A lot of these area scouts have honestly been here since Grigson. I'm a little surprised that Ballard hasn't turned that department over a little bit more in the 9 years. Honestly, some of them even date back before Grigson. But, Morocco Brown, I guess, third, fourth in line, I believe contract not renewed.
So, you can understand, Kevin, why people would see that and say, yep, this is the first domino to fall in the Anthony Richardson fallout, right? I mean, maybe that's overthinking it, but that you can see how that domino would be drawn by a lot of people, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably very fair to say Morocco Brown was very pro-Richardson, whereas Ed Dodds, for example, I don't think was pro-Richardson. Ed Dodds remains. Granted, he has been pretty much the right-hand man to Chris Ballard throughout. And, a lot of the scouting thing, when you're the head of the director of college scouting or whatever his exact title was, it's like, okay, how much is he this is my guy, this is my prospect. I mean, those are a bit of an unknown with a lot of the scouting process. Ballard has admitted to at times. Kenny Moore is a great example where he didn't want to sign Kenny Moore as an undrafted free agent during preseason cutdowns, but Kevin Rogers, one of their scouts, kind of convinced him of, hey, our cornerback room is in dire need. This guy's wingspan makes up for a lack of height. And so, boom, it's under Ballard's watch, but, Ballard will be the first one to tell you, Kevin Rogers deserves a ton of credit. Of course, all of this kind of goes into how you evaluate GMs, and part of it is, you should hire people underneath you that are not, men and women, and they can challenge you, and they can you can listen to them as well, and that obviously helps you out in great detail. So, I don't know how I view the Brown thing. I mean, I guess, he was a Richardson fan, but, I mean, I don't maybe put too much stock into, how much that means of this is the first Richardson domino to fall. I don't know if I view it in that light.
Do you believe, Kevin Bowen, our guest, before we get to the Pacers here, I wanted to ask you this as well. And I want to be very clear to protect kind of both of us here for misunderstanding or from misunderstanding. I'm not saying that what I'm about to say is a negative. I want to be very clear that I'm not inferring that in any way, shape, or form. But I get the feeling that Jim Irsay, as the owner of the Colts, was a football guy first and was overly involved in just the business aspect of it second. And his three daughters, in particular, when you consider, just the education, the marketing background for some of them, that they would see it as ownership being business first, football second. Do you think that that is an accurate, very far away view just in terms of philosophical change or approach that we may see now under a new era of ownership?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say Carly Gordon has probably made, I'd say, upwards of nearly 100% of the business decisions for the last, I don't know, decade plus. And football-wise, while she has certainly invested herself over there to learn a lot more, I would say when it comes to the GM and head coach, that still crossed Jim Irsay's desk. So that's probably how I would view it. And, obviously now Carly's going to add those major football responsibilities onto her desk. But, yeah, I mean, I'd say business-wise, I mean, they've retooled so much their sales department over the last decade plus. They've, hired kind of a CMO, in the last half dozen years or so. That was a little bit of a different twist to them. They've really, really reorganized a whole lot of their ticketing department. Digital media has probably been something that has grown a ton, and that's more, countrywide, worldwide than it is necessarily Colt-wide. When you think about it from an organizational standpoint. But I would say Carly has been a huge spearheader in so much of that. So, now she can really put her fingerprints on the football side if she would like to. And I think, again, that is the unknown here in 2025. I think she's a big Chris Ballard fan. But having said that, we will await and see. And that's probably the biggest unknown. It's kind of like a new athletic director almost kind of coming in, and you just aren't sure, what their tendencies are, how they view things. Do you feel like the need to say, hey, this is my, these people are now fully under my watch. I'm going to, make my presence known, for lack of a better phrase. I mean, certainly there's plenty of merit on the Ballard resume to not give him a 9th year or a 10th year after this season. But, how will she evaluate that?
Kevin, when Kevin Bowen is the guest here, Ron Geist Brewery guest line, when I was doing morning radio with you, there was a lot to.
I love Ron Geist beer, by the way.
Oh, it's fabulous. Truth IPA. Cincy Light's really good. Have you had that one?
I'm a huge Truth fan. My wife is a huge Bubbles fan. I have not had the Cincy Light. I'm also a big fan, and I know nothing about art, but I think aesthetically the cans are pretty cool.
They are. No, you're exactly right. The Cincy Light can has this simplistic, almost like 70s style font to it, which is cool, right? I mean, all of it's cool. 16th largest now craft brewer in the United States. When I was doing morning radio with you, and obviously I enjoyed it, and one of the things that I most enjoyed about it was being able to be the first celebratory voice after big things would happen, right? I don't mean me, but I mean all of us. But then you got to get up early, and quite frankly, that sucked. And especially last night because the game was so late, and I thought about you guys when I got up this morning when the alarm went off at 11:10, and so I wondered if you stayed to watch the entire game. Did you make it through the game? Do you have to shut down early, assuming it was over in the early fourth? I mean, be honest here. Give me the rundown.
Boy, I'm a little offended by the question, to be honest with you. Yes, I did watch it till the final buzzer. Had I fallen asleep, I think my wife would have awoken me with her.
That would have been more
yell.
Falling asleep than going to bed. Yes, I realize.
Yeah. The upstairs TV in our bedroom was a couple seconds ahead of where I was watching downstairs, and I will not make that mistake again because I can still hear her screech. Honestly, all of them, the Nembhard 3, the Neesmith 3, all of them. But, I said to her after the win, I go, Maddie, these wins are killing me because they just leave me wired.
Yes, well, that's the thing, right? I mean,
it's this
Kevin,
instant, I would rather.
It was 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm thinking the entire city's still awake, right?
Yeah, 2:32 was the last I saw on my phone last night. Yet I woke up this morning and it was I don't need the morning coffee. It was, and I don't know, maybe I'll hit a wall later today, but I don't find myself dragging at all today. And throughout the show, it was just one segment after the other, and obviously the phone callers and the energy you hear from people. It's contagious. I mean, it's infectious. I mean, you and I have talked about this before, Jake. I just think there's nothing like what a Pacers title would mean. And then when you factor in the run itself, I mean, I said it a million times this morning, we are watching a movie. I mean, this is a Hollywood script, the comebacks of it all. Even the 4-seed element in an NBA Finals, like that is rather unique. But you throw the comebacks on top of it, it's a movie. And, fans are not supposed to believe in their team or have belief, I think, can kind of be a finicky word. I can't tell you last time I've ever seen the Reds in a, 8th inning jam and thought, yeah, they're going to get this batter out, or they're going to come up with a timely hit. Like, fans don't think that. And yet, as soon as Haliburton touched the ball, I was like, oh, yeah, it's going in. I just need to know how it's going to go in. Will it be the layup like Giannis? Will it be the step back over Mitchell Robinson? Like, oh, it's going to be the 18-footer? Wow, okay. We hadn't seen that plot, but we know this ending, and it's just absolutely remarkable.
I think actually one of the things that we overlook is the fact that to get in these situations, to overcome late deficits, you not only have to have your three-point shooting and then the clutch shooting of Tyrese Haliburton, but, Kevin, their defense down the stretch, they befuddled Oklahoma City at times. And I thought Nembhard was sensational against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But even when Alex – and I should have mentioned this earlier and probably 20 times. When Alexander missed that shot, I think it was Nesmith that didn't get the rebound per se but tipped it to Toppin, and then they're going down the other way. I mean, just – the symmetry defensively of everyone knowing exactly where to be. I think, Kevin, would you agree that that's a very overlooked and underrated aspect of these runs?
Yeah, there's so many, plays when you think about it. I thought last night had the least amount of opponent, puking down their body. Like you go back to the Bucks comeback, and that was AJ Green and Gary Trent Jr. Just dropping the ball out of bounds, and even the Cavs, as much as the Nesmith tip in off the free throw miss was unbelievable, they couldn't inbound it. Really, when you look at it, for the most part, Oklahoma City just missed shots, and certainly the Pacers defense contributes to that. They didn't score in the final 90 seconds of the game. You imagine having the MVP. If I'm not mistaken, I think they were in the bonus, and they didn't score in the final 90 seconds. So yeah, it's I also felt that you just saw one team comfortable in that situation and the other team uncomfortable.
Right. Or unfamiliar with it. As Eddie Garrison pointed out when we were talking about it earlier, Kevin, Oklahoma City, the one drawback of being a team that's 68-14 and you're winning most of those games by, 7 to 12 points is you're not used to that situation, right?
Right. One of my general keys of the series is for the Pacers to pull this off, just put them into clutch situations every night and see how they react. They might prove themselves like they've proven themselves seemingly everything else this season, but they might not. And last night was them not doing it. And just go back and watch the final couple trips down the floor. SGA is looking over at Mark Daigneault hey, what do you want to do here? Because we're leaking oil, and all those Pacer comebacks that I've watched, we're now living it. And then watch the Pacers on the final possession. Lou Dort easily could have picked up Tyrese Haliburton, very easily. And yet he just kind of jogs over to Nembhard, and next thing you know, it's the 21-year-old Casey Walls picking up Haliburton. And, Haliburton didn't flinch. As soon as he got the ball, he knows full well there's no way Carlisle's taking a timeout. And it's his opportunity to make a play. So I think that general aspect of as long as you could hang in there, and they kept it close enough, if you can get to putting game pressure on them, who knows how a bunch of 26-year-old guys and younger are going to react, and that's what the Thunder starting lineup is.
By the way, Kevin, you've never placed a phone call to anybody in Sierra Leone, have you?
Boy, no, I can't say I have. Okay. Sometimes I occasionally get that phone call of you calling me. It usually happens during this segment.
I know. Well, have you gotten any spam calls from Sierra Leone anytime soon?
No.
Anytime recently?
No. What am I missing?
Well,
did you answer?
It's area code 232, and so I didn't know maybe if it wasn't actually 2:32 in the morning, but you were just looking at your phone and you just called Sierra Leone, and that was the area code. That's that filing cabinet your dad talks about, Kevin.
Boy, some things I do miss about you, some things I maybe don't miss as much about you.
I'd like to know what you do miss.
Welcome to my world.
I don't know that you've actually told me this. Can you please just let our listeners know one thing you do miss about our time in tandem radio?
Eddie, aren't we up against it a little bit here? I'm trying to look at the clock here.
Yeah, you're right.
The show's over at 3, and we all know if you have to list the things about me you miss, it would take more than the 38 minutes that we have left. So, yes, I understand, right?
Yeah, 2:22. It feels like I'm looking at the clock again from 12 hours ago, having to name off all the pleasant things about Jake.
There we go. All right, Kevin, enjoy the weekend. Sunday night, it's another big one, and I know you guys will be talking about it Monday, and we'll see where things stand. But we certainly appreciate the time as always.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, boys.
All right, Kevin Bowen joining us. Of course, you hear him on the morning show along with James Boyd, along with Jeff Rickard, and Kylan. By the way, did we have that mashup that she played? Eddie?
I've actually got a couple different versions.
Do you really?
Yeah. So I was going to play a different one next.
So Kylan, who was filling in for Mark Dykton this week, did a remarkable job of – can we play one of them real quick? Because we got our Franciscan Health Feel Good, Good for the Heart Friday coming up in just a second. But these were awesome. You play these are the mashups of the different calls from last night. How many different ones did she put together?
She sent me 4 different variations.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well – I mean, is Kylan, just out of curiosity, does she run any sort of workshop on how to do these things?
Why are you asking?
No, I just thought it'd be nice to go in there. I could learn myself. Let's hear one of them, shall we?
Off the mark, won't go. Rebound, Indiana. 8 seconds to go.
The Pacers with a chance to win it.
Haliburton has it with 3, driving with 2.
Pulls up, jump shot.
And hitting!
It's good! It's good!
With 0.3 of a second to go.
Ultimate confidence in himself.
Tyrese Haliburton does it again!
Boom, baby! How many more times can this team do that?
He's a baller, man. He's a hooper.
자, 언더독인 인디애나가 익숙한 상황을 맞이한다. 할리버튼 버텨내는데요.
Wow! Sweet baby.
Now, that obviously incorporated ABC, ESPN, obviously incorporated the Pacers radio network, and then obviously incorporated the radio call from Owensboro, Kentucky. Do we have another one of those? I mean, put this right in my veins. Let's go with another one. Play another one.
That was the Korean broadcast.
Okay. Put another one. It sounded like Owensboro to me. Put it straight into my veins and hit me with another one, Eddie.
Off the mark, won't go.
Rebound, Indiana. 8 seconds to go.
The Pacers with a chance to win it.
Haliburton has it with 3, driving with 2.
Pulls up, jump shot.
And hitting!
It's good! It's good!
With 0.3 of a second to go.
Ultimate confidence in himself.
Tyrese Haliburton does it again!
And it ain't over till it's over.
Sweet baby.
How many more times can this team do that?
He's not afraid of the moment. He is the moment.
He's a baller, man. He's a hooper.
Boom, baby!
All right, let's go one more. I can't get enough. Let's go one more. Straight into my veins, baby. Chase it with another. Let's go. Here we go.
Off the mark, won't go.
Rebound, Indiana. 8 seconds to go.
The Pacers with a chance to win it.
Haliburton has it with 3, driving with 2.
Pulls up, jump shot.
And hitting!
It's good! It's good!
With 0.3 of a second to go.
Ultimate confidence in himself.
Tyrese Haliburton does it again! Sweet baby.
How many more times can this team do that?
He's not afraid of the moment. He is the moment.
He's a baller, man. He's a hooper.
Boom, baby!
Let's go. I am all in, baby. I am all in, and I am thrilled to be able to be here to see all of it and to see the Pacers now with 3 wins remaining to get to that elusive NBA crown. And listen, part of the reason why I'm here and able to enjoy it is because of Cardiovascular Advance and Health, and it is a Franciscan feel-good, good for the heart Friday, as if we need more. I've got a story that literally from Michigan City to Mishawaka, from Portage to Plymouth, from Evansville to Elkhart, statewide, we can all be happy about. I'll tell you about it next. Franciscan Health, by the way, is the #1 heart program in Indiana for cardiology by health grades, #1 in Indiana for interventional coronary care and major cardiac surgery by CareChecks. And they are offering their very affordable, easy, non-invasive $49 heart scans. And I have the number of people that have come up to me to say that they got a heart scan, you know, the majority of them saying, man, what a huge relief to know that my score looked pretty good. But also there have been people that have come up to me to say I got a heart scan and didn't realize that I was in a situation where I had to go in and immediately get, you know, schedule for whether it be a stent or, you know, get on medication. Obviously, the heart is extremely important. Obviously, it's one that people get intimidated by. I'm here to tell you that the cardio rehab care that you go through, I found to be not overly arduous, but there is a peace of mind that comes with the heart scan. And when you get it from Franciscan Health, you also get a heart health risk assessment. So you get a blueprint, if you will, of just where things stand and what you can do towards proper cardiovascular care and health. There's really no reason to not get it done. You can't afford to not do it. Just $49. You can always go to franciscanhealth.org/screening bundles. franciscanhealth.org/screening bundles. Or you can call 833-238-0688. And I realize, and I'll give the number again in a few minutes, but I realize you probably don't have a chance to write down that number. If you ever text me, I think most people by now have my number in their phone. I will certainly get you the information on how to get that done, because I want to make sure that, especially if you are somebody that's over 40, you're obese, you've been a former smoker, but for everybody, an important thing to have done. But I am so thankful that Franciscan allows for us each and every week to just kind of share spotlight, not only on cardiovascular health, but also on something that I just think is a really feel-good story. And I mentioned the other day, Kitsy Chotlis. And Kitsy Chotlis, who is now married, but that was her former name, last name. Kitsy was the special education teacher at Northview Middle School when I was a kid. And my oldest sister, Juge, got to know Kitsy and started working with her in the special ed program. That parlayed into my sister making a career of working and teaching everything from special education to kids with emotional challenges, and my sister went on to become the Lawrence Township Teacher of the Year, which I've always been proud of. But the point being, at a very young age, I was introduced to Special Olympics because of the work that Kitsy did with my sister. And my sister would volunteer and work in Special Olympics, and it is disingenuous for me to say that I have been involved to any sort of a main level. I have refereed basketball games in Special Olympics and those sorts of things. But I've always had a tremendous appreciation and respect for it. Last night, as we were watching the game at our viewing party, my friend Pat Dyer was there. His son Preston was actually, his wife sent a very cool photo of Preston in Terre Haute in one of the Rose Holman apartment dorms, if you will, where they are staying for the weekend because of the fact that the Special Olympics now are at the state level in Terre Haute. And Pat was telling me about Preston's journey, for example, of wanting to try to do swimming, first wanting to do different sports. He wanted to do powerlifting, but needed upper body strength, and so started doing swimming. And it's not about the time or the pace of what the records are. It's about the timing and the pace of setting goals, personally speaking. And for this organization to facilitate for each and every athlete the opportunity to be the best version within a sport of themselves. And you've heard me talk about it. I mentioned Special Olympics a couple of weeks ago because my friend Bailey Ebaugh had gone and brought to me and shown to me her bowling and her basketball awards that she received. But this weekend is in Terre Haute, the state-level Special Olympics. And there are a number of games taking place: bocce, bowling, cycling, powerlifting, swimming, volleyball, track and field, young family, meaning games for younger participants as well. But each and every one of those games, our friend Fulton that calls the show is going to be participating in the track and field events. Preston going to be in the swimming events. Each of them are designed and designated towards the particular athlete, and what they're focused on is two things: competing with their friends, but also being the best version of themselves. And if you go to Special Olympics, if you watch these young athletes, if you watch the aspect of them playing together, whether it be for a team or whether because it is their goal to swim 25 meters in 3 minutes or less, it becomes about the competition of the blue ribbon within, in the fact that we lose sight, and we have lost sight to a great extent in sport, of what sport truly is about. And what sport truly is about, when you think about, no matter who you're talking about, Tyrese Haliburton, Daniel Jones, Michael Pittman Jr., Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they are elite-level athletes playing for millions of dollars in games that people all around the world are watching and hoping and cheering for the result in terms of victory and loss. But all of them at some age were a little kid that was simply learning how to throw a Nerf hoop into the Nerf basket or throw a Nerf football to mom or dad or brother 10 feet away. And at some point, in its simplest form, the sport that they now play at the most elite level was the most introductory or elementary of level, and it was about learning the sport and progressing to the best version of what it was that they do, that then catapulted them to the point where they are right now. And we think that Special Olympians or elementary school kids or younger athletes are aspiring and trying to get to the point of being a Tyrese Haliburton, and many of them never will. But Tyrese Haliburton and every athlete at a 100% level at some point was that young kid. And I love sport that still shows the simplicity and the true root of what sport is the foundation of for all participants, no matter how well-paid, well-compensated, and elite level they now perform. At some point, it was about simply somebody encouraging them to be better tomorrow than they were today and learn a new craft. And that's what Special Olympics puts on display. This is the ultimate sport display for everybody to be reminded of what sport truly is about in its genesis and its at the most elementary level, at its infancy for everyone. And the most core principle of sport is on display in Terre Haute this weekend, getting underway. As a matter of fact, swimming, track and field, and volleyball are already underway. Last night, they already began with bocce, with bowling, cycling, and powerlifting will get underway later today, both in group play, individually. And so I simply wanted to give this opportunity right now for anybody that's going, for anybody that has participated or been a volunteer, to simply be one that gets the world's greatest hugs at the finish line, gives a high five, whatever it may be. I'm here to say to everyone, best of luck, enjoy it. And while the Indiana Pacers last night made this state proud, so too does every single Olympian in the Special Olympics, because everybody in the state of Indiana is pulling for you to win your own internal blue ribbon and be the best version that you can of yourself. Your best version of yourself from a health standpoint can begin with a $49 heart scan from Franciscan Health. 1-833-238-0688 is the telephone number. That's 833-238-0688, the telephone number, or find out more information, as always, you can do so online, franciscanhealth.org/screening bundles. We will round it out with phone calls on this Pacer Party Friday, celebrating last night, 239-1070 for you to chime in. Love it, Joe. Hey, Jake, based solely on your description and recommendation, I tried the Chicago's Pizza Lunch Buffet. The one at Geist near Fox Road was excellent. Good food and a great value. No doubt my daughter and I will be returning multiple times this summer. Love to hear it. Absolutely love to hear it. Last night we had a lot of fun, by the way, out at the Ale Emporium. J&V was there, of course, our viewing party from Michelob Ultra. J-Law was there as well. It was always good to see him. And as I mentioned earlier today off the top of the show, J-Law's just got this, like, radiant smile that exudes. You can see it from a mile away. And I'm sure that he still had it on his face at the end of the game, the way that ended last night. J-Law, what's up?
Hey, Jake, how you doing?
Good.
Viewing party was an absolute blast. I hope that you guys do more of them.
Well, I'll tell you what, I know that we are doing one. J&V is going to be broadcasting Sunday before the game, and then I will be doing one on the 16th. That would be game number, I'm assuming that's game 5, at a yet-to-be-determined date. But, yes, we will let you know. But it was good to see you last night for it.
Yeah, even when they were down 12 after 20 turnovers first half, I wasn't that concerned.
That's
So
the
they're
weird
lucky
thing,
to be
isn't
that
it?
close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the weird thing about it, man.
I've been using the word, and even Tyrese mentioned it last night in the post game. They play with a controlled chaos on both ends of the floor. That's just crazy.
It's a lot of fun to watch. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, absolutely. But hey, one of the main reasons I called in is about Men's Health Awareness Month. As you and I talked last night, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer about 2 years ago. Caught it early. And, my PSA, which is the blood test, which helps diagnose it, has gone from like 864 when I was diagnosed up to over 10, down below 9. So I'm still in a good zone. My physicians that I work for are cancer docs, and they've told me I'm going to probably die with it and not from it. So right now, I do blood tests every 6 months and a biopsy once a year, and had genetic testing. It's non-aggressive, but I caught it early. And that's the one thing I want to stress for guys in their mid-40s.
Yeah, what
to 50s.
age, J-Law, what age would you recommend that people start making sure that men are staying on top of the blood test on that?
Well, I would start, especially if you're taking a testosterone supplement, like I was. It will increase your PSA. It doesn't cause the cancer, but it will feed the cancer. So I got off that the testosterone injections as soon as I was diagnosed. So I would say, mid-40s,
okay.
Absolutely 50. And like my urologist said, eventually we're all going to have a urologist in our life as a man.
We'll just say 40 to be safe. Why not start it early, J-Law? And I appreciate it. It was great seeing you last night, and I could tell last night that you're feeling good because you looked healthy, which was great to see. And I appreciate you coming out, and continue good health to you as well. And again, men's health awareness, important stuff for certain. Ryan is up next. Ryan, what's up?
Not much. How you doing today?
You know what? Hey, we can't complain, Ryan, right? We can't complain. It's
That's
Friday. It's the
right.
weekend. Pacers up 1-0.
That's right. Hey, I just wanted to tell you guys thanks. I appreciate your show so much. Back in December, my job changed a little bit. I have to travel between Martinsville and Greenwood a lot. A lot of that traveling is when your show is on. It's so awesome to be able to tune in, hear you guys talk Colts, Pacers, all things Indiana. Just really enjoy it. Definitely taking your recommendation on that Chicago's Pizza Buffet. I hit the one in Greenwood the other day. It is awesome. After that, I ran up to Mass Ave, grabbed a Why Not Indiana shirt for the finals.
My man.
Yep, loved it. And also got my nephew one of the Overrate That's shirts. He's over in New York right now. He studies at Columbia. Can't wait to send that out to him. He's going to be pumped to have that to wear all around the Knicks fans out there.
Ryan, I appreciate it, man, and I appreciate the kind words as well. It is funny because, admittedly, as I mentioned last night to some people, when you do what we do, you feel at times like a broken record, and you hope that people are sticking with it. So I appreciate that you were. Last night,
for him being such a supporter, did we give him a pair of those Counting Crows tickets that we have left to give away?
That's a good call. That's a really good call. Ryan, we're going to send you to Counting Crows, as a matter of fact. Eddie will get your information. Counting Crows coming up, Everwise Amphitheater. That is, of course, the lawn at White River, and that concert is June 16th. Is that right,
14th.
Eddie? June 14th. So, Ryan, stick around. We will get you on your way to it. Turnbuckle Bill joins us next. We saw him last night. Bill, I know you were happy about it, man. It was good seeing you last night.
I was extremely happy and nice to spend some time with you guys and everything. And I was, as I mentioned yesterday, I was really intrigued by the poster of Johnny Cash flipping the bird.
That's right. That's right. Johnny Cash. That was Tyrese Haliburton to Oklahoma City late in the game, right?
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going with that. And specifically, the whole team is flipping the bird to OKC's swarming defense, because if they were trying to do it last night, I sure didn't see it. And as far as timeouts go, sometimes the best timeout you can call is not to call one.
Yeah. Well, that was the case last night, right?
Oh boy, I tell you, if somebody on that Oklahoma City coaching staff would have pulled somebody aside and said, "Hey, you better watch out for this Obi Toppin guy," and he was just getting open looks. I mean, you don't know where it's coming from. I think that the swarming defense just does not work against the Pacers at all. And,
it did in the first half, Bill, but I thought they made a huge adjustment by kind of taking Nembhard, the ball away from Haliburton, putting it in Nembhard's hands, letting him run things, and letting Haliburton then kind of roam free, I thought was huge. And you're right about the timeouts. What did Bob Knight always say? At the end of games, he wants your team to feel like they should know what to do. And by the way, TB, Turnbuckle Bill, seeing you last night, retirement's looking good on you, man. I know you were a hard-working guy, but it looked like you've been enjoying retirement, and you looked great when I saw you last night. Steve, it's a Pacer Party Friday, man. What's up?
Hey, first of all, just want to remind everyone that today is the 81st anniversary of D-Day, one of the greatest selfless acts that our country has ever done. But on to the topic of today. Hey, first, one before that, wouldn't it be great if guys like Jersey Johnny and who was the caller that used to go horse?
Oh, Party Man Nick Coleman of Beech Grove, Indiana, man.
How much would Jersey Johnny and Party Nick be enjoying this right now?
But, well, and Steve, here's the thing, and I appreciate that call and that sentiment. And just the way I look at it is, I think they are. That's the easiest way to say it. We'll round out with Byron to round us out. Hi, Byron. What's up?
Hey, Jake. Thanks for taking my call. I just want to personally thank you from the bottom of my heart for changing my mind about two things. Primarily the Pacers. I was not a NBA fan and, followed the Pacers just because I wanted the Indiana team to do well. But it's brought so much joy to me. I'm now a Pacer fan, and I would have missed out on all of that. And the other thing I want to thank you about change my mind is I'm an IU grad, and I was a Purdue hater. And I listened to you when you talked about, come on, IU guys, give Purdue their moment in the spotlight. And it's been 20 years for Indiana. And so last 2 years I've been following Purdue and rooting for them to do well instead of rooting for them to lose in the first round. So anyway, thank you so much.
Well, Byron, I appreciate it, man. And that means a great deal to me. And I'm glad that basketball's brought you some things to enjoy, because this run has been a ton of fun, and it has been for Purdue for the last couple of years as well. J&V just walked in. John, we had a ton of fun last night.
Hell yeah. It was awesome. What a great viewing party with Michelob Ultra Zero right there. We got to do that again.
I know. It was awesome.
Those
our
awesome friends up at Ale Emporium and Fisher's, outstanding, too. Met a lot of new listeners.
It was great.
Which is always good. Breaking new ground, some younger listeners. So I probably got rid of some last night getting in a fight with them on X. So I know.
Listen, there was just something about it, man.
Yeah,
telling you,
people say all the time, hey, why don't you just – and, man, sometimes if I see it and it occurs to me, I just like making fun of jackasses. I can't help myself.
Yeah, that's what you said. Yeah, I heard you saying that yesterday.
Yeah, I can't help myself.
Chapel, you told that to yesterday.
Yeah, I can't help it.
What's on the big show today?
Eddie Gill, Mark Kestisher, and Tony East. So we're going to have it covered from 3 different angles from Oklahoma City about last night. I have never seen a team turn the ball over 25 times and win anything.
Unbelievable.
And you know what that goes to show you? They turned the ball over transitionally on defense. They got back because OKC had 11 points off of turnovers. That is incredible when you turn it over 25 times like that. Great
we
stuff.
will be talking about, obviously, game number 2 on Monday, right?
Probably the Cubs.
And you have, John, you're doing a special on Sunday before game 2, right?
Am I doing it? It's very special, yeah. Tom's Watch Bar right here downtown. They've invited us back after a hiatus. We're back at the Watch Bar. 6 o'clock coming up on Sunday. And then next week's going to be hellaciously awesome, too. So
Yes, Eddie?
We have another pair of Counting Crows tickets to give away.
Right now?
Yeah.
Caller number 2.
Okay.
239-1070, Counting Crows, you're on your way. John's up
yes,
next.
if you can tell Eddie Garrison, that year I took a squirt right next to Adam Duritz. You're the winner.
There you go. John's up next.
Yeah,
we
gotcha.
are back with you at noon on Monday. We'll be recapping game number 2. John will be at Tom's Watch Bar for that on Sunday. And I thank you for listening.